On June 3rd, 2026, Bitcoin is going to crash.
Right.
And the president of Ukraine will face this, like, severe, suffocating blockade.
Yeah.
Oh, and the physical crust of the Earth is going to violently shake.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a sci-fi movie.
It really does. But that is exactly what happens if you take the entire solar system and, run it through a highly rigid mathematical spreadsheet.
It's just this massive collision of two worlds that usually want absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Oh, totally.
You have the purely quantifiable realm of algorithms and risk analysis just slamming headfirst into the ancient mythological world of astrology.
And that collision is the focus of our deep dive today. We are looking at a forecast for the week of June 1st through June 7th, 2026.
Right, from a specific blog, I think.
Yeah, exactly. This comes from a blog called Astrology Alert, and it's written by Gay Horoscope.
Got it.
We are decoding a framework that claims to predict, well, natural disasters, global geopolitical crises, and cryptocurrency market crashes. And it does all this using a numerical coefficient scoring system.
Yeah, the author uses the Turkish word katsaya for this coefficient, which means we are stepping far beyond the typical daily horoscope.
Oh, for sure. This isn't your will I find love today kind of reading.
Exactly. This source treats celestial movements not as these vague suggestions of mood, but as a literal mathematical force acting on both human affairs and, the physical planet itself.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. How exactly does this coefficient system work?
Well, it's...
Because the author comes right out of the gate predicting these severe physical disruptions. But like a -2 based on what?
Right.
It sounds like we are applying a corporate performance review to chunks of space rock. Where do these numbers actually come from?
So it's not just the author assigning bad numbers based on general vibes. To understand the mechanism here, we have to look at what astrologers call aspects.
Okay, aspects, what are those?
Basically, the planets are constantly moving around the sun on a 360-degree track.
Right.
When they hit specific geometric angles relative to each other, from our perspective here on Earth, say, a 90-degree angle or a 180-degree opposition, astrologers consider that a hard aspect.
Meaning it's bad.
It represents tension. So the author is taking those exact geometric angles, feeding them into a proprietary model, and outputting a clean integer.
Oh, wow. So it's less like a credit score and more like gravitational resonance.
That's a really good way to put it.
If the planets align in a way the author deems negative, it creates a literal mathematical drag on the Earth, almost like celestial friction.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it, celestial friction. And according to this text, June 3rd is the day with absolute highest friction.
So what's happening on June 3rd?
The Moon, the planet Venus, and the planet Saturn all hit a -2 coefficient simultaneously.
Yikes. A triple threat of mathematical drag.
Exactly.
And the author argues this doesn't just make people grumpy, it actually cracks the Earth's crust. They point to the full moon on May 31st and literally call it an earthquake intersection point.
Yeah, and the math behind that specific phrase is so fascinating. The author calculates this intersection point as the exact average between May 27th and June 4th.
Wait, they just averaged the dates?
Pretty much. Because of this specific mathematical intersection, the forecast warns that the probability of severe earthquakes on weak fault lines increases significantly right around May 31st.
And I'm guessing that danger window stays open for a bit?
Right, it stays wide open straight through the negative coefficient days of June 3rd and June 4th.
They also get incredibly specific about the astrology behind the earthquake prediction, too. I noticed they mentioned the zodiac sign Scorpio.
Yes, they do.
Which, I mean, I know Scorpio is usually associated with intensity or secrecy, but the author connects it directly to tectonic plates.
Right, because in this framework, Scorpio literally symbolizes the subterranean, the underground.
Oh, I see.
So if the celestial friction is pulling negatively on the sign of Scorpio, the author's formula translates that directly into subterranean instability.
It is wild to see ancient mythology like Scorpio ruling the underworld fed directly into an algorithmic data model.
It really is.
And the physical disruption isn't just underground either. The forecast flags June 2nd for a major spike in adverse weather conditions and a really high probability of physical accidents.
Yeah. But, if we step back and look at the socioeconomic context of the author, this intense focus on literal physical disaster actually makes a lot of sense.
How so?
Well, the author is based in Turkey, which is a region that sits on incredibly active devastating fault lines.
Oh, of course.
Earthquakes are a present existential reality there, so it is entirely logical that a predictive mathematical model built in that specific environment would prioritize tectonic shifts as its very first baseline metric.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It is the ultimate expression of as above, so below. If the math of the solar system is fractured, the physical harmony of the Earth fractures right along with it. But I have to push back a little on the premise here, because it's striking to see something as devastating and unpredictable and chaotic as an earthquake reduced to a negative integer on a calendar.
It is a radical way to process reality, for sure. But think about what a coefficient offers you.
What do you mean?
If you can calculate a danger, even a chaotic one, you can theoretically map it. You can prepare for it.
Right, it gives you a sense of control.
Exactly. And that desperate human desire for structure and mapping becomes even more apparent when the author shifts focus.
Right. Because if the physical crust of the Earth is under that much pressure, the political landscape is going to shake just as violently.
Which means we need to talk about the geopolitical predictions in this document.
Yes, we do. And just to be super clear for you listening right now, we are simply dissecting the math and the mythology of this specific author's forecast today. We aren't endorsing these geopolitical predictions, and we absolutely are not taking sides on the world stage. We're purely exploring how this author attempts to map the stars onto these really highly sensitive real-world conflicts.
And the author makes some incredibly pointed claims about global leaders here, largely driven by the planet Saturn hitting that -2 coefficient on June 3rd.
So let's talk about Saturn. What does that celestial friction actually mean for a politician?
Well, in mundane astrology, which, by the way, is the branch of astrology focused on world events and nations, not just individuals,
Right.
Saturn represents authority, borders, restriction, rules, and structure.
Okay, so it's a very heavy limiting energy.
Exactly. So a severely negatively aspected Saturn, a -2, translates to intense clashes with authority and severe blockades.
And the author casts what are called natal charts for these major world figures to see how that -2 hits them, right?
Yes, they do.
For instance, the text notes that Elon Musk has a Cancer sun and an Aquarius Mars. Donald Trump has a Gemini sun and a Leo Mars.
And because of those specific planetary placements, the author's algorithm predicts both men will face intense restrictive clashes with authority figures around June 3rd.
Really? Like what kind of authority figures?
The forecast explicitly mentions clashes with judges, prosecutors, presidents, or basically anyone with a boss title.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that -2 Saturn is predicted to corner them in a very restrictive way.
The analysis of Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu is even heavier in this document. The author notes that both leaders share a Libra sun sign.
Right. And the mathematical framework here deems Libra highly vulnerable to this specific Saturn friction.
So what happens to them?
The forecast predicts severe Saturnian restrictions for both leaders. The source actually goes as far as to suggest that Netanyahu could be arrested, imprisoned, or severely blocked by what the author calls Saturnian individuals.
That is a huge claim. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, is also flagged in this section.
He is, yeah.
The source notes his sun sign is Aquarius. And under this model, that means he also faces these restrictive negative blockades on June 3rd.
And that ties directly into the author's predictions for the actual borders and security of these nations.
Because a leader's chart is inextricably linked to their nation's chart in this system, right?
Exactly. This is where the author folds in the moon, which also hits a -2 on June 3rd.
What does the moon represent here?
In mundane astrology, the moon represents the general public and national security.
Okay, so we have the planet of restriction at a -2 and the planet of national security at a -2.
Yes.
The author warns that the national security of Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Ukraine are all severely threatened on this day. They specifically suggest the possibility of a Russian attack on Ukraine occurring right around June 3rd.
And, the math actually continues to degrade the next day. On June 4th, the planet Mars drops to a -2 coefficient.
And Mars is war, right?
Mars is the planet of war, aggression, and military action. The text explicitly warns of a butterfly effect, like a chain reaction of violence triggered by this mathematical dip.
Right. The author predicts that Iran, which they categorize as an Aries sun, might attack Israel, which they categorize as a Taurus sun with a Leo Mars.
It's also specific.
It is. This Mars drop is predicted to bring violence and terror inside Israel, alongside further escalations in Ukraine.
Yeah, the math paints a really tense picture.
Okay, I need to pause here because this is where the methodology gets incredibly fascinating to me.
Oh, I knew what you were going to ask.
I mean, I understand casting a birth chart for a human being like Elon Musk. He has a birthday, a birth certificate, the literal moment he was born.
Right?
But how does an entire country get a zodiac sign? How on earth is America a Cancer? Did a group of founders just look up at the sky when they signed the Constitution?
Well, in a way, yes. The practice of casting charts for nations is ancient. It goes all the way back to the Babylonians mapping celestial omens to the fate of their kingdoms.
Really? I had no idea it was that old.
Oh, yeah. Today, astrologers use a mundane natal chart for a nation, which is based on the exact date, time, and location of a country's founding, its declaration of independence, or the adoption of its current constitution.
So for the United States, what do they use?
The universally accepted date in this community is July 4th, 1776.
Okay, and that puts the sun squarely in Cancer. So America is a Cancer.
Under this system, yes. And the source notes that America's chart features a Gemini Mars.
Okay.
Because of these specific historical placements, the author's math predicts that on June 3rd, the United States will suffer heavily from that -2 Saturn restriction.
But the restriction isn't necessarily military for the U.S., right? Because the author mentions that massive financial organizations like the IMF or the Federal Reserve, the FED, might make sudden decisions.
Yes, decisions that create an earthquake effect in the American markets, causing massive gridlock.
It's so interesting that it views these enormous bureaucratic financial institutions as the literal embodiment of Saturnian authority figures.
They are the structure imposing restrictions on the nation itself.
Right. And if the leaders of the world are locked in this geopolitical gridlock and massive institutions are throwing up roadblocks, well, that tension doesn't just evaporate.
No, it doesn't.
It bleeds directly into the one thing that hates uncertainty more than anything else, the financial markets.
Because uncertainty is the enemy of the market. And for the financial markets, the author turns their attention back to the planet Venus.
Which might confuse some people. Normally, when I hear Venus, I immediately think of romance, love, beauty, maybe an ex you shouldn't text.
Yeah, that is the interpersonal association. But in mundane and financial astrology, Venus governs economics, trade, money, and just the concept of value itself.
Oh, okay. That changes things.
So when Venus hits that severe -2 coefficient on June 2nd and 3rd, the author predicts a literal earthquake in the financial market.
And the forecast is remarkably specific about what assets are going to drop. Commodities like gold and oil are flagged. The BUDT 100, which is the major stock market index in Turkey, is predicted to fall. And the entire cryptocurrency market, specifically naming Bitcoin and Ethereum, is slated for a major drop on those days.
But interestingly, while all of those fall, the U.S. dollar is predicted to rise.
Right. And the methodology used for the financial markets is arguably the most radical part of this entire framework.
That's wild.
Because just as the author uses a founding date like July 4th to cast a chart for a country, they use inception dates to cast natal charts for financial assets and even blocks of code.
Yes, financial natal charts.
I read this part of the source and my jaw hit the floor. It completely blew my mind.
It is a massive growing subfield called financial astrology. The author treats the launch of a digital asset or the establishment of a fiat currency as its literal moment of birth.
So for Bitcoin, what date do they use?
They use January 3rd, 2009.
That is the day Satoshi Nakamoto mined the Genesis block, the very first block of code on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Exactly. And because of that specific date, the author states that Bitcoin has a Capricorn Sun, a Capricorn Mars under Saturn's rule, and a Pisces Venus under Neptune's rule.
I had to laugh at the idea of a cryptocurrency having a personality profile.
I know, it sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud.
So basically, because it was born in early January, Bitcoin is a stubborn, incredibly hardworking, rule-following Capricorn.
That is the literal mathematical interpretation within this text. The algorithm says Capricorn, so the asset behaves like a Capricorn.
That's incredible. And Ethereum.
Having launched its network on July 30th, 2015, Ethereum is categorized as having a Leo Sun, a Cancer Mars, and a Virgo Venus.
So Ethereum is an attention-seeking, dramatic Leo.
Basically, yeah.
It's just so deeply fascinating to anthropomorphize a block of code like that, treating an algorithm like a living, breathing entity taking its first gasp of air on a server somewhere.
And the author extends this exact same logic to traditional fiat currencies as well.
Right. They track the U.S. dollar using a Cancer Venus, and the euro uses January 1st, 2002.
which is the day the physical notes and coins entered circulation, giving the euro a Capricorn sun.
The author also pays very close attention to the Turkish lira, tracking it with a Scorpio Venus, which, again, ties back to the socioeconomic reality of the author we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. Turkey has experienced historic, punishing hyperinflation and really intense economic volatility in recent years.
So it's top of mind for them.
If you are an analyst living in that environment, tracking the lira and the Bilisty 100 isn't just an intellectual exercise, it is a vital necessity for survival. So naturally, it is a massive pillar of their predictive model.
And because of these specific birth charts for the currencies and the crypto, the math dictates exactly how they react to the transits.
Correct.
So when Venus drops to a -2 on June 2nd and 3rd, the friction hits Bitcoin, Ethereum, silver, and oil, just pulling them down.
The math is entirely deterministic here. But, the math also provides a timeline for recovery.
Oh, so they bounce back.
Yeah. The formula predicts that while these assets drop early in the week, the celestial friction eases up, allowing them to rebound strongly by the end of the week, specifically around June 7th.
Which means we finally have some good news to discuss.
Right, finally.
We've spent this deep dive talking about earthquake intersection points, global conflict, chains of violence, arrested world leaders, and crypto crashes. It paints a remarkably bleak picture of the week.
It really does. But the author does offer a mathematical silver lining.
Yes, the forecast points to June 5th as the absolute peak of the week.
On June 5th, the celestial weather completely flips. The sun, the moon, and the planet Neptune all hit a stellar +3 coefficient.
And that's the highest possible score in this weekly model, right?
It is. The author notes that this +3 creates a window of intense opportunity.
For everyone.
Specifically, for individuals whose own personal natal Mars has a high coefficient in their birth chart, June 5th is predicted to bring excellent, surging productivity.
Okay, so a good day to get things done.
It's flagged as a day for highly efficient creative work. The author even suggests that some people could experience sudden fame or widespread, sudden recognition in their environments on this day.
They also get specific about who benefits the most from this, mentioning the zodiac houses. The forecast notes that during this week, the houses in Gemini and Pisces will have the highest, most positive coefficients.
While the Capricorn houses will have the lowest.
Wait, the author throws the word houses in here. We've talked about planets and signs, but what is a house in this context? Are we talking celestial real estate?
Celestial real estate is actually a really great way to put it. Imagine the sky surrounding the Earth is a pie cut into 12 slices.
Okay, I'm picturing a pie.
Those slices are the houses, and they remain fixed relative to the Earth's rotation. Each house represents a different area of human life like career, relationships, or wealth.
Oh, I see.
As the planets orbit, they move through these different slices of the pie.
So if you have planets sitting in the Gemini or Pisces slices of your chart, you are catching that +3 tailwind on June 5th.
Exactly.
But if your planets are bunched up in the Capricorn slice, you are stuck dealing with the celestial friction.
It serves as a core reminder from the author's philosophy. The mathematical movement of the planets dictates the weather, but how you experience that weather depends entirely on where you are standing when the storm hits.
So after analyzing all of this, what are we really looking at? We've gone through this incredibly dense, mathematically rigid document.
We have.
A text that tries to take the orbit of Saturn and map it directly onto the war in Ukraine, the price of a Bitcoin Genesis block, and the literal tectonic plates snapping under our feet.
It's a lot, but analyzing a source like this raises a deeply important question about human psychology.
What's the question?
We live in an era dominated by incredibly complex, volatile, and highly unpredictable systems. Cryptocurrency markets can crash in an hour based on a single, unverified rumor on social media. Geopolitical standoffs involve thousands of unseen variables, back-channel negotiations, and historical grievances. Earthquakes, despite our best technology, are still ultimately unpredictable by modern seismology.
We are just surrounded by chaos that we cannot control.
We are, and the human brain absolutely hates chaos. It cannot tolerate a void of meaning. So we have to ask, why do humans put so much effort into mapping these chaotic systems using highly rigid mathematical structures like these astrological coefficients?
It's like we are trying to force a neatly formatted Excel spreadsheet over a Category 5 hurricane.
That's exactly what it is applying a +3 or a -2 to a distant gas giant really about unlocking the fundamental gravitational secrets of the universe?
Probably not.
Or is it simply our very modern, data-driven way of trying to find a comforting sense of control amidst the sheer sheer unpredictability of our reality.
I mean, by assigning a clean, rational integer to the terrifying unknown, we trick ourselves into feeling like it is knowable.
You make the chaos feel predictable.
If the universe has a coefficient score, then at least there are rules. It means someone or something is keeping track. We want the precision of a mathematical model.
We want the jagged line on a graph to point at the calendar and say, there's the problem, right there on June 3rd. The math says so. Prepare yourself.
It is an incredibly human impulse. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take that thought with you as you navigate the rest of your week. In a world full of endless, unpredictable variables, what are the coefficients you use to try and make sense of the chaos?